Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Mondays with Michele video. This week's topic, quarter session records. So what were the quarter session records? They dealt with complaints from everyday people, so not just the rich. The court met 4 times per year, hence the term quarter session. They would meet during Epiphany, so the beginning of the year in January. They would meet at Easter, so roughly April. They would meet midsummer, early July, and Michaelmas, which would usually be end of October, early November. Some places kept records of these quarter sessions from the 13th century on. Most only started recording the information in the 16th century. Of course, not all these records have survived, but where they do, it provides some really good clues to what our ancestors were doing in those eras prior to civil registration. So let's talk about what the quarter session records contain. They have lots of lists of names. For instance, the officials that were presiding over these sessions. So you'll see the justices named, the bailiffs, the constables, but also jurors. And as you can see from this extract, these were individuals, males in the parish. It gives the name, it gives where they lived, and it gives their occupation. So you might expect to find some of your ancestors serving as jurors for these quarter sessions. You will also find lists of the people who were accusing someone of their complaint. You will find the name of the person who is accused. You will find the names of witnesses being called in support of these complaints. So let's take a look at a typical entry. This is from the York quarter session records. So we have Sarah Hammond. So the charge for having on the 7th day of April last at the parish of St. Margaret in the said city by certain false and fraudulent pretenses obtained from John Armstrong a gold watch guard and seals thereunto attached belonging to Elizabeth Heseltine. So she basically stole or obtained fraudulently a gold watch guard and seals. So we find out what her plea was. It says Sarah Hammond pleaded not guilty. We find out the verdict. It says Sarah Hammond guilty. And the interesting thing is when you look at quarter session records, you will see separate paragraphs for each complaint outlining what the complaint was. But in many cases, the pleas and the verdicts are kind of written up as one bulk paragraph. So it will say, here are the pleas for these 7 people. And it'll say these 4 pleaded guilty, these 3 pleaded not guilty, and then it will give the verdicts and it will say the jury deliberated and it agreed that these 4 people were not guilty, these 5 were guilty. And then it goes on and gives sentencing details. Now, one of the features I found very interesting about the quarter session records is they have these lovely tables of all of the prisoners and their sentences. So you get the name of the offender, the offense, and the date. And you then get the statute that they disobeyed, their punishment, and the magistrate who administered the punishment. So let's take a look at a few of these. Some of these I found quite amusing. So poor Catherine Flanagan, she was apparently considered a disorderly prostitute. On April 7th, it appears when you look at the statutes section that there were at least 4 or 5 statutes that they felt she broke, and her punishment was 14 days in prison. We look at Robert Dayton Thompson. He unlawfully left a cab in the public street without anyone to take care of the same. So he violated, it looks like 3 or 4 statutes. He was fined 2 and 6 and also had to pay 4 and 6 in costs. Another type of record or mention that you find in the quarter sessions is coroner's inquests. Now, you might not see all of the details the way you would from the coroner's notebooks, but so few of the coroner's notebooks have survived. What I found helpful is the fact that these inquests are mentioned in the records. So here's an example. It says inquisitions, that's what the inquests are referred to in the York quarter sessions, inquisitions taken by John Wood and returned to this court. So it tells you when and where the coroner's inquest was held. It tells you the individual that the inquest was all about, and it gives a verdict. So if we look at this entry, the first one for Anna Maria Smithson, it says she was accidentally poisoned by administration of prussic acid instead of essential oil of bitter almonds. So you're getting a lot of detail that you would not normally expect to see from just a burial entry. And when you consider that these quarter sessions go back long before civil registration, in this case, it's an entry from 1859. But if I could get that type of detail on the death of one of my ancestors, I think I'd hit the jackpot. That would be wonderful information to discover. Bastardy orders are another type of information you can find in these quarter sessions. And these make entertaining readings. So this is an extract, a transcript from the West Riding session rolls. So this is from the 1600s, and it's about an illegitimate child involving the Seville family in South Aurum and the Hemingway family. So if we take a look, we find out that there was an illegitimate child that was begotten by Matthew Hemingway on the body of Dionys Seville. We also find out that they ordered Matthew's father, Richard Hemingway, Dionys's father, Henry Seville, and the township of South Aurum to all contribute to the upkeep of that child. So they all had to pay to help support and maintain that child. And again, this was in the 1600s. They also said, in the meantime, the said Dionys shall be soundly whipped for her offense. So they really went out of their way to try and discourage anyone from bringing illegitimate children into the parish. You will also find mention of removal orders and settlement disputes. So here's an example of a description of an argument basically between the parish of St. John Micklegate and the parish of St. Mary Castlegate over who is going to end up receiving this family. So we find out the name of the mother and her children, and this is basically an argument over which parish is going to end up being responsible for the care and upkeep of these individuals. And in this case, they decided to put a temporary stay on removing them from where they were now and hold it over until the next meeting. So let's talk about where you can find some of these records. There are some quarter session records on the paid websites like Ancestry and Find My Past. There are also a lot of films on Family Search. Family Search does have a really good wiki article, which I'll show you right now. And as you can see, it goes into a lot of detail about what the quarter sessions are all about, the types of crimes that they dealt with, the court procedure. It talks about where the records are located and the different kinds of records you might find, including apprenticeships. They have an example here showing from the Blackheath and Little and Lessness Kent quarter sessions. They have lists of apprenticeships that were set up. We mentioned the Bastardy records. So there is a real range of records that are available. So to locate these records in Family Search, you would do a card catalog search, searching on quarter session. So if I was to go to search and catalog, I would get this screen that you see in front of you, and I would do a keyword search, type in quarter session Yorkshire or quarter session Kent, or whichever area you are looking for. And as you can see, you get quite a long list. Now, the reason why a lot of these are in purple, I was sitting there playing around last night trying to decide which record I would show you. A lot of the records are restricted. You would have to view them from a family history library, but I did find a few that can be viewed from the comfort of your home. The interesting thing is the examples I showed you were from this section, the quarter session records, City of York. And you notice all of these films have the camera icon with the key, but it still allowed me to go in. And when you go in to the record, I'll just click back on one that I've already got up. This is that calendar I showed you, the list of the prisoners. But if we page through, so it's telling you that we're in the midsummer session. If I look down, it's giving the names of all the people that are going to be appearing to lodge their complaints, and it says what they're basically going to be complaining about. If we page forward, some of these sessions, they had quite a few complaints they were dealing with. We get our list of jurors. And then we will get some kind of in-depth details on the particular cases that they are hearing. And then you see the write-ups, the summary of how the people pleaded, the evidence. We see the jurors' decisions. So as I said, the quarter session records have an awful lot of useful information, and I found it really entertaining just reading through the list of names, the offenses, and the punishments. You can get similar type of information for Ireland. So in Ancestry, they've got the Ireland Petty Session court registers, and it's a similar type of thing. So you will find references to fines for unlicensed dogs. That was apparently a big concern. I found a lot of unlicensed dog fines. There's one here, breaking into a dwelling house, and there's larceny, and there's an awful lot of drunken disorderly entries. So similar information for Irish records. As far as Scottish court records, there are some. A lot of their records are restricted, but for example, the Scottish records, this is from 1725. This is about William White and his wife Agnes Harriet had wounded and beat William Walker in the town of Woodhead in a cruel manner. So it's detailing what their offense was. It talks about their punishment, which was they had to pay £10 Scots to be paid to the court. So you get that same type of information. I hope you enjoyed learning about quarter session records. I do have a handout with links to the resources mentioned in the video. To get the handout, once you've finished watching the video, just take a look at the bottom of the screen in the description section, and you'll see the word handout with a clickable link. This will bring up the handout file, which you can then print or save to your device. Thanks for watching.